In the left corner, from Harbor Freight, we have the Warrior with its 1.3 amp hour battery. On the right corner, from Walmart, in the red box, we have the HyperTough drill with its 1.5 amp hour battery. Both these drills come in at 12 volts and under $20. Which one's going to come out on top? We'll find out shortly when we fill out the scorecard. Things that will be judged are its ability to put in decking screws, a 1-inch spade bit, a 7/16 speed bit, 5/16 speed bit, quarter-inch speed bit, a magnet test, a drilling in the torque test, and an endurance test. We'll fill out a scorecard, and at the end, you may know which one is right for you.
For our first challenge, we have the 3.5-inch decking screw going into 3 pieces of a 2x4. Can they do it? We'll find out in a second. We'll do them side by side and see which one does it faster and if either one of them fails.
That first round looked pretty neck and neck. The only difference between the two was operator ever. I'd give them both a pass and say they're neck and neck. On to the next, more challenging challenge, which is spade bits. Here we go.
What's the next challenge? The next challenge is the 1-inch spade bit. Why the 1-inch spade bit? Because it's the largest spade bit I happen to have in the studio, so that's what we're going with. The challenge is this. Can you put a 1-inch spade bit through 3 2x4s? If you can, you pass. If you can't, you fail. Here we go. Whew. Ooh, it did it.
Well, there you have the test results. The Warrior, 4 minutes 28 seconds, and the HyperTough at 3:44. From a practical point of view, given it's a one-run test, I'm going to call it even. They both did it. They both did a 1-inch hole through 3 2x4s, something the average homeowner is not going to do. Let's go on to the next test.
What's our next challenge? It's the speed bit. The speed bit, if you're not familiar with it, is similar to a spade bit, except it's got these threads on the front. As it rotates, those threads pull the spade bit into the wood. Basically what happens is you can't control the speed that the bit is going into the wood other than slowing down the rotation, and therefore it can require a lot more energy to push this through because that thread is going to pull it through at its own rate, faster perhaps than you're going to push down with just normal pressure from a spade bit. So that means your drills can get more pushback and may stall. High-powered drills love them, low-powered drills often stall. So therefore, we're going to see what the largest speed bit is that we can use with both the HyperTough and the Warrior. Here we go.
Well, drill aficionados, it looks like they both passed. Let's go up a size and see what happens.
All right, this is the first piece of wood, but not the second one.
Well, there you have it, drill aficionados. Neither one of them can do it. The Harbor Freight Warrior came ever so close, but neither one of them finished. So we're going to mark 7/16 as a fail. We know 4/16 can be done, so we're going to try 5/16, and if that's successful, we're going to say 5/16 is both drills' limits, or whichever one makes it. Here we go. Give it in a shot right now.
So now we're going to do 5/16 of an inch, and we'll see how it does. Again, these bits have the thread on the front. They're going to pull down the bit at its own rate, and so as the runner of this, I don't get to control how fast that bit goes down, other than by speeding up or slowing down the rotations. All right, here I go. All right, it looks like both the Warrior and the HyperTough both have the same answer. 5/16 seems to be as far as it goes. It made it all the way through.
All right, drill aficionados, as you can see, 7/16 did not do it, but 5/16 did. That is the maximum size for both the HyperTough and the Warrior to go through 3 2x4s. If you're using a speed bit, it's approximately 5/16 of an inch. Okay, let's go on and try something a little bit different. Up next, we have the famous magnet test. Here we go.
For the most important test of them all, the one you've all been waiting for, the magnet test. Yep, magnet's there. Holds pretty good. No magnet.
Wow, drill fans, how about that, magnet test? All right, we got 2 more things coming up. Both are real. One is going to be how good is the light, and the other one is how much endurance do these have? So I have one request, though. I'm a retired guy. I do these videos just for fun. I'd appreciate it if you hit the subscribe button. If enough people subscribe, I can at least break even. Okay, no more begging. No more telling you how. I'm going to have to live under a bridge if you don't subscribe. On to the dark test, and then on to the endurance test. All right, here we go.
Hey guys, you may notice it's dark on your screen. No, it isn't broken. What I'm doing is testing out the light on the 2 drills. First, the Warrior. Warrior has a light that's coming off the bottom of the drill, and it's pretty cool in that if you put the switch into the middle where the forward reverse switch is in the lock position, you can actually turn on the light without the motor running. Because the light is way down low on the drill, it's able to light up where the screw head and the drill come together, and it makes it a lot easier to line up that bit. And then it should be a lot easier to get that started. And then it goes. I'm now going to take it out. So not too bad. The light is pretty good, and it lights up the screw head pretty well so you can see what you're doing. The HyperTough also has a light. The light on this one is actually pretty close in line with the chuck, so it's just barely below the chuck. And what happens here is, in order for me to get the light to come on, I have to barely squeeze that trigger so it lights up. And the actually puts a little bit of a shadow on the screw head, and so it makes it a little bit harder to get that bit and screw head to line up. It's still quite doable in pitch black here, and it's still perfectly possible to put a screw in just where I want it.
Hey, drill aficionados, I'm going to have to give this one to the Warrior. Simply put, the light on the Warrior is very close to the battery, right at the bottom of the handle, and it shoots up, so it doesn't have any shadows cast on the screw head. That makes it very easy to line up your driver bit and the screw head without any shadows. The HyperTough, though still usable, has the light right in line, more or less, with the chuck, and that casts a shadow right on the screw head, making it a little bit challenging to use. Both of them have one other downfall, and that is the only way to turn the light on is to pull the trigger. And if it's in gear, when you pull the trigger, hey, that bit is going to be spinning. So now you're either going to be barely touching that trigger where the not quite enough power for that bit to actually spin, but it wants to, or the light's out. And a spinning bit is kind of hard to put onto a screw. So I will say this, if for any particular reason you actually have to use the light on the drill to do a lot of drilling in the dark, I would encourage you to maybe to look at a slightly higher level drill, slightly more expensive one. The more expensive ones, not the 2 we reviewed here, when you tap the trigger, normally the light will stay on for 10 or 20 seconds before it goes out, and that you just tap the trigger, you then get 10 to 20 seconds to line up that bit with the screw head, and then you can start drilling. And so if you can do a lot of drilling in the dark, please by all means look at another drill. Okay, guys, I got the last thing coming up, and that is going to be the endurance test. We're going to drill a bunch of holes, and we're going to see if they can both do it. I'm not going to go too crazy. These are $20 drills. I just want to see if we can drill a bunch of holes in a row without draining the batteries and without overheating it. I'm not going to go crazy, but I do have one request. And that request is, please hit that subscribe button. I'm a retired guy. I do these videos just for fun as a hobby, and I like to at least break even. And YouTube won't pay me a penny until I get at least 500 subscribers. All right, guys, time for the endurance test.
The next challenge, the 3/8 inch spade bit. Oh, hold it. We've already done something like that? Well, there's now going to be 66 of them because there's 66 dots on this board, and I'm going to try to drill in 66 holes, first with the Warrior and see how far it gets, and then I try the same thing with the HyperTough, and we'll see which one does better. If both of them make it to 66, I'm just going to pass them because, 66 holes is enough. All right, guys, here we go. Go with the Warrior first. All right, well, that is it. Well, there you have it, guys. That's all it's going to do. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19. So that would be 9, 18, 27. There's 57. 57 holes out of one battery. It is still moving a little bit, but it's really slowing down, and I don't want to damage the motor or the battery. It came to a stop on the 57th hole, so it's really 56 and a half. All right, I got a brand new bit. Got the HyperTough fully charged, and I have to make it to this dot right here, and that would be where the Warrior stopped. So I'm going to take a shot here and see if I can't do at least as many as the Warrior did. Here we go. All right, guys, I'm going to stop here for a moment. This is actually getting somewhat warm. I'm going to let it sit for about 1 minute, and I'm going to keep going. I'll keep the film rolling so you know I'm not changing batteries, but this is getting very, very warm. So I'm going to let this sit for about 30 seconds or so. Just let it kind of cool down a little bit. Maybe just run the motor a few times, get that fan going in there. And just going to let it cool for a minute, and then I'm going to keep going. Okay. Just giving that a few more seconds here. Okay, I'm going to keep going. We'll see what happens. It's getting close. It is definitely getting warm, though. All right, I've got 3 more till I hit the point where the Warrior was. Oops. And I kicked the camera. Okay. 2 more, and then I match the Warrior. All right, this will, if I get through this one, this will beat the Warrior in terms of number of holes. And just making sure I'm still in frame, I am. Okay, so now it's a tie. I'm actually going to let this sit for about 30 seconds or so, let it cool off. And once it cools off, I'm going to keep going. It's getting near the end of its what it can do. So I'm at 57, and if I can do the next 2 rows, I'm going to call this a victory. I'm not going to run this all the way down. This is getting awfully warm. Not hot, but warm, and I don't want to damage it needlessly. I think we're past the point now where, for a typical homeowner, I think that we're past the point where, you know, you're not going to need to do this typically in one sitting, and if you did, you'd get a second battery, and hopefully you'd be taking breaks between some of these. Okay, I'm going to try to do the next 2 rows, and then we'll call it success. All right, that is 60. If I get to here, that'll be 63. I got to pass the 62 hole test. Nope, I guess that's it. Ooh, maybe not. A little more. All right, that was 61. The goal is 62. Let's see if it'll do it. I don't know. All right, at the very edge here, guys. So it is 61 and a half. My goal was 62. So not too bad. They're really not that far apart. One was 57, roughly, and this one is 61-ish. So, yeah, they're both in the same general range. And for an inexpensive drill, that's about all I really would expect. So, am I happy with it? Yes. Yes, I am happy with it. Yeah, I mean, you're not going to do this. And again, this was kind of toasty, 3/8 inch bit, and yeah, if you can do approximately 60 holes with a 3/8 inch bit, I don't think you're gonna have any issues doing day-to-day household stuff. All right, guys, that ends the endurance test. Because as they say, I think at this point we've got enough.
All right, drill aficionados, it looks like the HyperTough just inched out the Warrior, 61.5 holes to 56.5 holes. Pretty gosh darn close. When you think about it from a practical point of view, for the typical homeowner, that's more than either one of them are going to ever need. More than enough holes. All right, guys, I'm going to say that pretty much covers everything. If we take a look at the scorecard, you can see that it's pretty close to one another. Yeah, pretty much they're dead even. So I'm not going to call a winner. I'm going to pass it back to the clueless dude for his conclusions. And once again, if you don't mind, clicking that like button and the subscribe button, because without subscriptions, I don't get paid, and then I end up living under a bridge. Over to the clueless dude.
Now for one of the hardest things to do because it's so subjective, and that is look and feel. If you had come to me and said, hey, clueless dude, you can't actually test these, but you can only pick them up, and then just by holding them, decide which one is better, I would have said the HyperTough. The HyperTough has a nice grip on it. The plastic feels good. The switch, then the trigger feels nice and sharp. It just feels like a quality tool. It feels really nice. Plastic, very sturdy. I would have guessed that this would have hands down beaten the Warrior. The Warrior, on the other hand, the plastic feels a little bit cheap. It does have some rubber-ish gripping here, but it just somehow doesn't have the same feel as the HyperTough. And again, that's a lot of his personal opinion. But the reality is, once I tested it, I realized they really are neck and neck. There's neither one of them is really vastly above the other. So one of the things that I would think about if I was actually going to purchase one of these is look at the line of tools that are available that use the same battery. The reason why, if I wasn't doing these kinds of videos, I would have bought the HyperTough is the Walmart's right down the street from me, and I have a bunch of other 12-volt tools that are from the HyperTough 12-volt line, and the batteries are interchangeable. The Warrior, on the other hand, it's a fine drill. I just don't have any of their other products that take the same battery. In fact, I'm not even sure how many products are that actually take the same battery. So for me, the choice outside of testing would have been real obvious, the HyperTough. The Warrior, I have to be really honest with you, before I started testing it, I thought it was going to be garbage, and I was wrong. It is more or less on par with the HyperTough in terms of performance. In some ways, it's better. The lighting's a little bit better on it. The torque controls are a little bit nicer on it. And in power, they're about matched. I'd still like the layout of the HyperTough better from an aesthetics point of view, and also just from a grip point of view. So, which one is better? Neither. They're both actually perfectly fine. If your main goal is to do just very minor household things, like putting up, let's say, a planter or a light, some kind of picture, something relatively light, and you're not going to be drilling, half-inch or inch drill holes over and over again, either one will be great. If you're putting up, let's say, a deck or building a deck, I wouldn't use either one of these. I would go get a 20-volt something like a DeWalt or a 20-volt impact driver from DeWalt. But for just household, you got a wrencher and you just got to drill occasional holes to put up pictures. Either one of these is perfectly fine. Again, my deciding factor would be closeness of the store and the interchangeability of the batteries with other products I might want to use. And for that reason, I would go with the HyperTough and as opposed to the Warrior. But your situation may be different. If this is the only tool you're going to get, either one is excellent for light work. I abuse these intentionally just so you'd know, hey, if this guy, this clueless dude, is just beating the hell out of these drills beyond what they're designed for, obviously, if I'm using it for what it's designed for, it should work fine. So that's the goal behind it. I hope this helps. And if it did, please hit that subscribe button. I'm a retired guy and I do these videos just for fun. And I'd like to at least break even, and YouTube won't pay me a dime until I get like 500 subscribers. So hit that subscribe button and make my making video hobby in my retirement a reality. All right, guys, you have a great day.